The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that, if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
Hey kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Hey kids, welcome back. It is I. So, back at long last to finish this build up. Feeling much better. Thanks for not asking. Just like the worst head cold ever. But anyway, we're okay now. So, we're going to do hardware. This is going to be one of the last videos of this build. I decided, since my hydro dipping stuff is down at my neighbor's house in Ohio, because it got shipped to the wrong address, and I already have 3 of these frickin' Vboxes. I'm just going to make this a goose killer. So I'm going to print out some funny decals, slap the decals on, shoot it with some clear coat. I already did seal it. I did seal this one with fiberglass on the outside, like I told you guys never to do. The reason I said never do it, I mean, you can. It sands a little bit harder, okay? But I figure I'm not even going to paint this one. I'm just going to put some decals on it and call it a day, and put some of my goose killer decals on there. Oh, that shit. That nasty? I get injured no matter what. And we're going to clear coat it and use it to chase geese with. So a lot of the parts of this, Joe from ZippKits sent me this kit for fun. He knows I've built 1,000 of them before, but I thought, we'll do a quickie half-ass build video on this. The next 2 build videos coming up are going to be in-depth and accurate. This one's just more for fun. So if you want to find out a little bit more detail about the hardware and things like that I might skip in this one, watch the ZippKits Vbox build series. That one goes a lot more in-depth. This is just a fun one. This is just one we're just going to bash. So I ended up taking out most of the gear off of the Crazy Cracker. I did a boat overview on this the other day. I'm still going to keep this hull. It needs cleaned up. I'm going to power wash it, and I'm going to reinforce some. We got some nasties. Most of the hardware's still on it. I'm just going to hang it from the ceiling and call it good. But we're going to use the old radio box, the old engine, because the engine's prime. It's very, very nice. Look at that. Damn. Yeah, that hurts. I was taking this shaft tube out of the bag, and these edges are super sharp, and I poked it. Just look at that. I should throw some CA glue on there and seal it up. But anyway, so I'm going to go over the basics of this, and we're not going to do anything super crazy with it. We're going to start with drilling the hole for the shaft. We're actually going to set everything, but we're going to actually glue this in almost last, because I have a trick for doing these. I took the old radio box out of that other cracker. These are the boxes I make. Now, I told you in the last video, I think, these radio boxes that I use, this is a vent hole. You put hatch tape over that. That way, when you go out for a run, if you get a little bit of water in there or whatever, even if you don't, you always want to air out your radio box. Always, never leave it sealed up, because you'll build up condensation, switches will go south of cheese, whatever else. So that's why this hole is there. It is strictly for ventilation. So put some tape over it and go run your boat. Other than that, they work great. But I told you in the last build video that how I put these in is strictly silicone on the edges. It holds it perfect. You're never going to rip it out. Guaranteed. And to get it out, then all you have to do is take a razor knife, cut along the edge where you put those beads, and you can pull it out. So if you want to take it out, put it into another boat, whatever you want. That was part of my design idea with this radio box. Okay? Excuse the blood. Sorry about that. Maybe I don't think I have any tape out here. But yeah, so this is the radio box, whole 9 yards out of the other one. We are not using any external hardware off the other one. We're going to be using new hardware on this. So first thing I do with this boat is we open up this hole here, okay, and we drill our hole here. Now there are instructions in the manual on how to do that. You find the center here, okay? And then you measure up 1/2 inch and you drill your hole. I cheat a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I found center, and we're going to I use a step bit because I'm going to seal this up anyway. But you can use whatever size bit you need. That should be, yep, nice and tight. Not too bad, but we're gonna have silicone going in there anyway, so it doesn't have to be, you know, measure it up, whatever else. So the next thing we're gonna do is we need to clear this out because I did line this with fiberglass and it got a little thick in there. And also make sure that this fits too. Okay, this was the doubler that we did. So I just take my stepper bit. Okay, going to be epoxied as well. Perfect. All right, and then we're going to open this up a little bit as well. Hopefully this bit will reach. Might have to use a Dremel. We're going to be resealing this anyway, so that should be good. Just to clear out that epoxy that's in there. So let's test it. And then we're going to mount our stinger. And you shouldn't really, yeah, that's good. We can anneal this a little bit, right where it's going to bend up, but we're going to put our engine in first before we see where that's going to go. Okay, so now our engine, hang on. I took out with the iso mounts or the rubber grommets on it. This is out of the old boat. Should probably clean it up before I put it in here, but might wipe it down real quick. And then we're just going to slide this in position like that. Glue it down, not glue it down, thread lock it in, and then bada bing, we're done. Okay, I'll worry about the pipe later. Well, we can even mark the pipe now too. So we can slide it in this way. Now again, if you want to see a more in-depth burn through of this boat, of setting all this garbage up, please watch the other video. I'm not going to get as in-depth with this one. It's almost identical. Only main difference is you've got a stinger instead of a strut. That's really about it. And you don't have a center keel on this one, but you do have strakes on the bottom. So, you know, whatever. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the pipe off that engine. No, I don't think I'm going to do that. We'll just bend it up. I will probably wipe it down. And then we're just going to put in our bolts. We can do that right now. I'm still a little out of it. So forgive me. So with this, I take a little bit of blue Loctite. I definitely Loctite this side, meaning side going in. I use the Allens on this side out. You don't have to. You can use the nuts on this side out if you want. And of course I have a ton of fiberglass on there. So we're going to use this because I'm lazy. Okay. I'm going to be taking this engine back out, so I'll probably put a little bit more. I'll probably take that from the other side. It's alright. Okay. Well, like I said, be careful. If this is a fresh build, and especially your first build, you'll be taking a lot more time than me. Okay. Use hand tools. Don't use power tools. I'm in one of those moods. Alright. So then we're going to put the two in the back. So with these, you've got a lock washer. That nasty thumb. Okay. And unless I'm destroying a boat and yanking everything out of it. Ooh, that one's really fouled up. Now, here's a quick trick for opening these up. Let me dig up from ZippKits. You can buy this for a few bucks. It's basically an angle drill bit, and it comes with the bit. And it's for drilling motor mounts. Great fun. Now, all the ZippKits gas models that I know of they're already pre-drilled. But buy this anyway. It's only a couple bucks. It's really cheap. And I use it for opening these holes back up for when you get sealant in them. Like that. Oh. Got that sucker in there tight. Alright. Let's put this in. Alright. Now, when I go to take this engine out, I'll be loosening these nuts here, since they're not Loctite. I never Loctite these. I only Loctite these, because you're gonna have to pull your engine in and out quite a bit. So there is the depth of our motor. Don't forget your doubler. Okay. And I'm gonna bend this guy right about. I'm going to anneal it about there. Maybe give it a little bit right there. Okay. Now I'm going to take the torch. I'm going to heat this thing up until it's reddish. Let it cool or quench it. Doesn't matter. Watch my annealing video. I did a video on how to do this. It takes 2 seconds. It's not long. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our drill. Now I'll show you that part when we come back. All right. I'll be right back. All right. Now, this rod, this shaft tube, is exceptionally long. We do not need it to be this long. It's going to get cut like right there. But what I do with all of these is I'll take a reasonably stout sandpaper. This is, in this case, 120. You can use 80. You can use 60. Don't use 400 because it won't work. You want to cut some grooves and rifle it a little bit. It'll give the epoxy something to stick to, okay? Then I put the end in a drill. It's going to be really hard to do on camera. Gently. Doesn't have to be in there strong. Then I am just going to spin and sand this before and after the anneal. So that's going to give us some stiction, as I like to call it. Some rifling, if you will, for our epoxy. You can feel it's real rough. For our epoxy to stick into. Now again, like I said earlier, we are not going to be gluing this in right away. Okay, we're going to bring it almost to the engine. Better too long than too short. You don't want like that much shaft coming out. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut back here. I'm just going to mark it. And since I'm not painting this boat, I'm going to try not to get... be in a little bit. Okay. Then I'm just going to take my Dremel tool with a cut-off disc, if I can find it. There it is. Okay. Got a sanding drum in there right now. We're going to clean all this up. All this hardware is coming back out. Okay. Cut this off. Now what you should do, and I'm sorry my sense of humor isn't great today, I'm just still kind of bleh, all right? But what you can do is now, what you should do is you should take a rat tail file and file the center, or file that burr out that you just did. But the other thing you can do is you can take that same stepper bit that you used on low speed, simply do this. That deburrs it and gives it a little bit of flair. Okay, and take this out, and then we're gonna just rough over. But rat tail file works just as good. I do half and half. Just depends if I can find my file fast enough. All right, but there's no burr in there now. It's nice and clean. Okay, remember which side you polished, or which end. Okay. I'm going to push this back until it's pretty much flush. Okay? Then we're going to lift this up. It's annealed, so just lift it gentle, just like that. It's perfect. Alright? Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this little doubler. that end does not need deburred. Now, I'm going to clean up these edges. Okay, and yes, I will be cleaning my carb before I start this engine, just to make sure I don't have any schmutz in it. So I know I'm ticking off a lot of boat engine guys. Whoa, dude, you're sanding above your carb. Yeah, I know. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to take our shaft. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Jock nasty. Gross. Okay. And we're going to set it. Now, we haven't cut the shaft yet. Just use a raw shaft. And we're going to set that. Make sure our angle's good. Okay. Make sure you're not touching on that shaft at all, which we're not. Looks real good. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some, well, maybe. Where the hell's my medium CA? Son of a gun. Let me go get some. Be right back. All right, so these little bottles are God's gift to hobby boat building. I'm telling you. RC cars, put your oil in there. Nitro engines, put your after run oil in these things. Little needle bottles. RC boats, I put my CA glue in here, WD-40 in here, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. Type in, I think, needle bottle, Needle, needle bottle, in Amazon. That's where I get them. If you can't find them, let me know. Let's make sure this isn't looking too goofed up. Now, you can measure it if you really want to. Or you can just, it's just a support, kids. Don't blow the bank on it. It ain't the space shuttle, okay? Now, I do like to hold it so it's straight. We're going to put a dot there, dot there. This is just to hold it. Now, we have not sealed this piece. So when we epoxy this in, we're going to be epoxying the whole thing. We're going to epoxy the shaft. We're going to epoxy everything. Okay. So this is raw wood, so we have to seal that. Now the other thing I'm going to do, this does work. Put a drop of CA on the shaft right there. A drop right there. A little bit right there. Now, I know you can't see it right now, but I have it flush against the transom. That tube is totally flush. Okay. Now our tube will not move. Now it will if you yank on it, obviously, but now we can pull out our shaft and see how nice it goes in. Beautiful. All right. Now, I'm going to blow this out. All right, so we've got our shaft set. Boom, done. Now the next thing we're going to do, hopefully you can see this somewhat, is we're going to put our strut on. Okay, this is fairly straightforward. I line it up using a shaft. All right, a piece of shaft. If you're going to build a lot of boats, save a couple pieces of the scrap shaft if you've got them. When you cut, whenever I order a shaft off Joe, I always order the longest ones, except for the last order. I screwed up and ordered the shortest ones. That was an expensive mistake, but that's okay. But I always keep a few of these ends because they work really handy for lining stuff up like that. Okay, so the stinger that I chose for this boat, and I don't usually do this on crackers. I bought the adjustable one. Okay. The adjustable stinger is just that. You loosen these two set screws and you can bring this turret or this pitot out, in and out. Let's see. That's probably this one. And to be honest, I don't usually use these. I thread lock this in. But it is kind of clever. So if you want, you got to think about, think about boat stuff literally, I guess, okay? So if this is that loose yet? No. If this is your prop coming out here, okay? Here's your shaft going in, and then it's going to meet up, and it's going to go into the too. This is leverage. Think of that as being your fulcrum point, okay? So if your prop's over here, the longer this sticks out, the more leverage this is going to have to bring your nose up and down, okay? Also your thrust ratio a little bit, but don't get real hung up about that, all right? It's like, oh, what distances have to be, JJ? I don't know. Depends on your boat. On a cracker, I don't think I've ever used an adjustable one, to be perfectly honest. I just did it because I thought, be something different in the video, so I ordered an adjustable one. Nothing fancy, okay? So, and it was adjustable, so I screwed it all up. That's okay. I don't care. I'm not even going to adjust it. I just wanted to show you. So I would put something like this on a deep V or a V-hull, a real V-hull, not a cracker. You can put this on the cracker. As a matter of fact, I think it's cheaper from Joe this way. I'm not even sure. I can't remember, but it's in the hardware section, Joe's ZippKits. And it does have a vertical adjustment on the height, which is phenomenal. I love that. I won't use a strut unless it has vertical adjustment, because that way it gives you a little bit of slop, so you can screw up drilling your holes, and it's not going to break the bank. Not the space shuttle, but you don't want to totally screw it up either. Okay. So what I do to line these up initially is I will take the shaft, slide it through here. Okay. And you can use your full length one if you want to. It doesn't matter. And then I basically find the happy spot. All right. Or you can take a drill bit or something that's the exact same diameter as this and do it that way. Let's see. Where's that? Is this close? That's pretty close. Kind of nice to do it this way too. However you want to do it. Again, taint the space shuttle, kids. Okay? You have vertical height adjustment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when I set this, we're going to set the, I'm going to mark right in the center of those slots. That way I've got some up and down as needed. Okay? I'm not going to be totally precise and drill them at the top. That's stupid. You're giving away your ceiling or your adjustment room. Okay? So I'm going to put them pretty much square in the center and call it good. Not real fancy. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just thread these in through the wood. I'll pilot hole drill them, but I'm not going to put the nuts and bolts and stuff on because or nuts and washers, because I got to take all the stuff off to seal it. So, not my first rodeo. We're not going to do all that work for nothing. So, I'm going to mark these, drill them, be right back. Almost forgot. Buy yourself a digital level. It really saves your butt. Okay? So, zero it out on your hull. And make sure this is close, and that's pretty darn close. I'll make it about 0.1. Now, you got to remember, rotation this way, not the hugest deal. But when you put an angle on that strut, okay, now you have a telescoping effect or a compounding angle, all right? So if your strut was completely parallel with the bottom of the boat, which this one will be close, if it's twisted this way, which is what we just leveled, it's really not going to make that big of a difference, okay? But if you kick that up or kick that down and then you twist it, now you're changing your pitch and your steering of your boat, which can be corrected. But anytime you have to input correction with your rudder trim, you slow down the boat because you're fighting. Does that make sense? So if the boat is wanting to go right from prop rotation, whatever you're doing, but you have to you have to put trim on it to make it go left, okay? You have resistance now. You're fighting that. The fastest the boat's ever going to be is going straight, all right, because you're in parallel with the stride. So anytime you add deflection to that rudder, you're going to slow, all right? So if you have to put in manual trim or auto trim, whatever you want to call it, I guess, you're going to resistance. That's why we always make sure the turn fin, the strut, the stinger, whatever you're using, everything is nice and squared out, okay? Otherwise, if you have to put in a bunch of add-ons to fight stuff, Like, you want to use trim tabs as little as possible. You want to use trim as little as possible, okay? So make sure you square this up best you can. Now, if it's off, like you just saw 0.1 or a tenth of a degree, ain't going to break the bank. You're off 5 degrees, bad things are going to happen, okay? Don't do that. And I'm not going to worry about, I'm going to zero it out a little bit better, but then I'm going to drill my holes, and that's why those slots are there. So when we reassemble this thing, we have to re-square everything up, okay? So, almost forgot that. Be right back. Right, we are back. So, one other thing. Hang on. Roto twister. Okay. What was the other thing I was going to tell you? After you drill each hole, put the bolt through it. Re-level before you drill the next hole. Trust me. I've had them slip where you put one in to hold it, and then you drill your next one, and, you know, bad things will happen. You don't want to do that. So our rudder. Now, what we're going to do with our rudder, we are using a new rudder on this gig, because I'm just too lazy to take the old one off, and I like that old boat. It's going to be a spare. It's going to be hanging from the ceiling here next week or this week. So I just got a 2 waterline pickup rudder, and I'm doing this. There's, like I said, there's directions in there on how to do all this stuff. Okay, so as I say in all my videos, Uncle Joe goes through a lot of time and effort to put those manuals together. Read the manual first, and if you like what I do, maybe apply it, and if you don't, fine, that's good too, but don't take my word for gold. I built a lot of crackers. I know how I like them. I know what runs good for me and how I run. I am not a race guy. Remember that, guys. I don't build race boats. I try to build boats that go fast enough to make me happy, and that's basically it. And my boats, most of my ducks are pretty quick. They're pretty quick, but there's probably room for improvement. I probably use too much epoxy, which, you know, race guys be like, "Oh, it's too much epoxy. You're killing it." Yeah, I beat the hell out of my stuff, so I like to hold together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to assemble this old rudder. Now, I use a very short standoff on my crackers. Alright? Now, this is how she's going to go. Little brass screw, see that? Is on the bottom. Always. Always, always. That's your shear screw. Okay, so it goes together like that. Okay? Now, standoffs on rudders. How that works is, again, we're back to the lever theory. It's not a theory, it's a fact. The physics of leverage. All right? So the longer your rudder standout is, the more leverage you have. Think about it. If you're turning real close to the boat, all right, you're going to have a very sharp, like say you go full throttle turn, you're going to have a very stiff turn to the right or the left. If you have, the longer the rudder you have, the more gradual it's going to be, because again, it's fulcrum point of a lever. Fulcrum point being your center of gravity. Okay? So, you'll see in this, you have a flat spot in this axle. Alright? Don't forget, I assemble them like this. But that little dude is going to go in like that, and it does help. Don't have to do this, but it does help to mark that spot. That way you can see there's something dark like a Sharpie or whatever, so you can see it through the hole a touch easier. I don't know if you guys can see this. Now I just screwed it all up. Oh, for the love of God. Maybe I'm not healthy enough to be doing this. I'll tell you what, guys. For most of you out there, if you're watching my boat crap, you're probably a friend of mine. The boat world's very little, as we know. And, man, I was just sick as a dog for 7 days. It was just like this annoying head cold. I took a COVID test just for fun because my wife made me. And my mom's an old retired nurse, so she gets them all free from the government. So like, oh, you got to take a COVID test. I'm like, so what? So, you know. Anyway, whew, what a dick kicker. This has been a nasty cold. So, always thread lock your set screw. Bad day at the zoo. Your set screw vibrates out. These things vibrate like the Moby M5 dildos, man. You do want to use thread lock on everything. That thing rattles out, that shaft drops out, your rudder falls off. It's still connected by the linkage, but now bad things are going to happen, right? Because you have no more steering. The rudder's just going like this now, all right? I always thread lock these. You're never going to take that out anyway in most cases. So I basically thread lock everything. You guys know that. So I'm going to take these next two bits and bulbs. Exact same principle. They have little lock washers on them. And we're going to take, it'll be a long video, man. I'm sitting here rambling like an ass, which I always do. All right. And then we're just going to set these in. Now, there are some schools of thought. And people say, why do you do it like that? It's harder to drill in. Which it is, because now you got this sticking out. Yeah, well, that's just how I am. Now, rudder depth, another topic up for debate. Depends on what you're running on. 95% of the time, I run on extremely calm water. Okay? Born and raised on a lake in windy-ass Indiana. I know what harsh water is. And my lake's usually very calm, so I can get away with very little rudder in the water. How I judge the height of this, and even the location, I know it's going to sound corny, I basically use it off my radio box. So what I'll do is I'll take my radio box, I'll set it in there, get an idea for where that is going to be. I judge it, make sure, and I drill my hole. That's basically it. As long as it's feasible, as long as it's going to be a feasible position. I will explain. Let me get this set up. I'll be right back. All right, so with a cracker, with any boat, the center of gravity affects you a whole lot more than you think. But a lot of guys are like, oh, well, that's going to be there, that can be there. But the nice thing about a boat is you can move the gas tank. So, yeah, if I have this plus or minus a couple inches, I'll put my gas tank somewhere else. It's not the end of the world. Engine placement's exceptionally important because you don't have anything that heavy to counteract that fulcrum. So, my radio boxes, it's all linear, right? Your linkage. My radio box goes here, within reason, and then goes right about there. Okay? So, that's my steering linkage. See that? So then what I do is I mark that dude with a Sharpie or a pen, pencil. We'll use a pencil. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to make a little box around it. Done. Okay. Can't open it. Right. So a special shout out to my buddy Jeff in our little chat group. He just sent me, sorry about before it was the smoking hot wife interruption. I'm still not with it, guys. Man, this freaking head cold or whatever the hell it is, it's just kicked the living crap out of me. So this is getting a little long in the tooth. So I'm going to epoxy this in, and this shaft in, right here and here, and here. And then we're going to call it a day. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow because I'm just a bag of ass right now. But anyway, special shout out to my buddy Jeff, who sent me a couple receivers that he had that were extra. And I greatly appreciate it, my brother. Very cool of you to do. I told him, he sent me, $20 worth of receivers, and I have to build 2 more $1,000 boats. Why not? So we're going to mix up some 5-minute. This does not have to be heavy duty 30-minute crap. It really doesn't. And again, I'm sorry guys, I wanted to do a video for you guys so bad. I wanted to do a run video actually. I wanted to go down to the water because it's 50 out today, and I haven't run a boat in so long. I'm jonesing, but it's just, ugh, I feel like shit. All right. Whoop. So tomorrow will be better because today was better. I feel 10 times better today than I did yesterday. So I'm not trying to whine here, but man, hope you guys don't get this. My mother, who's 80, she got something too, and it was like a, stomach and stuff too, which I did not get, thankfully, which I usually don't. Okay, so I'm just gluing in the bits, and we're going to put in epoxying, I should say. I don't like when people say gluing, because we're not using Elmer's glue. This isn't kindergarten class. We're using epoxy. Makes it sound cooler. So I am making sure that I get this in there nice and tight. This is a support. Okay, so you want it to be supported. Take your fingers, rub it around the bottom, which I will do momentarily here. Now that the thick bit's done, here's my alcohol. I'm going to thin this just a touch. Okay. You can thin it after you mix it. It's okay. As long as it's not popping out, getting hot. Still got some time. Okay, now I'm going to use this as sealer because I've already epoxied the back, the middle, and the front. And now I'm simply going to waterproof this. Okay. Utilize it. Think about stuff before you do it. It's like, I have this extra epoxy. I've already done the good bits that are important. This is very, very thin. But this is just to waterproof the support. Oop. Bend this over. Like that. Hit the bottom. Now, yes, it is easier to do this when it's out of the boat, if you want. I just honestly forgot. But that's okay. Again, utilize your time. It's like you're going to have to epoxy it in anyway. So, why do it twice? Do it once. I have a manufacturing brain. That's what I do for a living. So, all right. I improve the methods of manufacturing for people. All right. I guess that's about it. So we're going to let that cook. And again, I apologize. I'm just kind of, and I know this video is boring as fuck. So we're going to do a part 2 tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more fun. And we'll finish it out. We'll put the tabs on. We'll drill the rudder in. Put the turn fin on and all the goods and gads and guts. And so maybe we have 2 more videos. But we'll see how it goes. So until next time, kids, stay healthy and keep dry side up. Bye.